I have a diagnosis for bipolar disorder in writing from a psychiatrist in an institution and from a psychologist. That makes schizophrenia an impossible diagnosis. My psychologist didn't think I had a schizoaffective or schizospectrum disorder. Neither did my therapist. So here's a description of why schizophrenia and bipolar disorder aren't diagnosed together. While schizophrenia and bipolar disorder share some overlapping symptoms, they are distinct mental health disorders with separate diagnostic criteria, and it's generally not accurate to diagnose both simultaneously. Here's why schizophrenia is not typically a possible diagnosis alongside bipolar disorder. First, let's look at the primary features of each condition. Schizophrenia is characterized by persistent psychotic symptoms, including hallucinations, delusions, disorganized thinking, and cognitive impairment. These symptoms are chronic and often continuous, and they severely impact an individual's daily functioning. Bipolar disorder, on the other hand, is primarily a mood disorder marked by episodes of mania and depression. Psychotic features such as hallucinations or delusions can occur during severe mood episodes, but these symptoms are episodic and directly related to mood changes rather than being continuous. A key reason why these diagnoses are typically seen as mutually exclusive is that each disorder requires a specific pattern of symptoms and course of illness for diagnosis. Schizophrenia requires a sustained period of psychosis or impaired functioning without significant mood disturbance. The symptoms are generally chronic and do not fluctuate significantly with mood. In contrast, bipolar disorder has a clear episodic nature, with mood episodes alternating between manic, depressive, and euthemic, or symptom-free periods. Additionally, the DSM-5 Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders and other major diagnostic guidelines generally do not permit dual diagnosis of schizophrenia and bipolar disorder, precisely because their symptom criteria overlap in ways that could lead to confusion rather than clarity. If a person's symptoms include both psychotic features and mood disturbances, they are more accurately diagnosed with schizoaffective disorder, a separate diagnosis that combines elements of schizophrenia and mood disorders but is neither purely bipolar disorder nor schizophrenia. The distinction between these diagnoses also helps clinicians determine the most effective treatments. Schizophrenia often requires continuous antipsychotic treatment to control persistent symptoms, while bipolar disorder treatment focuses on managing mood swings, typically with mood stabilizers like lithium or anticonvulsants, along with antidepressants or antipsychotics as needed during specific episodes. Misdiagnosing one as the other could lead to improper treatment as the medication and therapy approaches vary. Ultimately, while people with bipolar disorder may experience psychotic symptoms during extreme mood episodes, these symptoms are episodic and linked directly to mood states, distinguishing them from schizophrenia's more constant and primary psychotic experiences. So that's a more detailed description of why bipolar disorder is not schizophrenia and how bipolar disorder can have some symptoms similar to schizophrenia but different in some ways. And bipolar disorder and schizophrenia aren't diagnosed together in the main manuals, and schizoaffective disorder is instead a diagnosis if that's another diagnosis. And then I don't have a schizoaffective disorder diagnosis from my psychologist. I didn't have anything on the schizo spectrum from my psychologist. I just had bipolar disorder, dissociative spectrum, and borderline personality disorder. Dissociative spectrum is a different spectrum from the schizo spectrum. So I'm dissociative spectrum, not schizo spectrum, in my written diagnosis from my psychologist. And then my written diagnosis from a psychiatrist in an institution also put me as bipolar, and then it didn't mention anything about schizospectrum either.